Thank you for committing to work as an Edison Research exit poll interviewer. Your work is extremely important to this project. This training presentation will review the materials and procedures you will use on Election Day. All of the information reviewed is also included in a training manual available for download. Let's begin by reviewing what election exit polling is and why it's so important. On election night, the major news organizations provide election analysis to millions of people around the world, telling them not only which groups voted for which candidate, but also which issues are important to them. Universities analyze and report on this data as well. Here are just some examples of how exit poll data is used on and after Election Day.
Let's look at the exit polls, which point out some of the challenge that Republicans face. Let's put them up on the screen. Republicans lost women by 11 points, Hispanics by 44 points, and young people by 23 points.
This is the makeup of the American voting electorate in 2004, 2008, and 2012. White to non-white.
What he did in Ohio was he did well enough with white working class voters, and then the African American turnout in Ohio was 11% in 2008. It was 15% in this election.
In order to collect this data, Edison Research hires interviewers like you to stand outside of polling places across the country and survey voters as they leave the polls. Several times throughout the day, interviewers call in their results to our Election Day headquarters, and Edison Research then tabulates this data, and the results are reported after the polls have closed. Prior to Election Day, you will receive a package that will include a pink fact sheet outlining your Election Day responsibilities, special Election Day instructions on where you are allowed to conduct your interviews, an introduction letter to provide the election official as to who you are and what you'll be doing, a state or county credential letter acknowledging your intent to survey voters, color-coded refusal and miss code sheets to keep track of those who do not participate in our survey, color-coded tally sheets for you to record your results, questionnaires for voters to fill out, a ballot box where voters will deposit their questionnaires after they fill them out, pens and pencils for filling out the questionnaires, a badge for you to wear, an exit poll assessment survey for your feedback, a W-9 form, and a prepaid return envelope. Everything you need to know for Election Day is listed on your pink fact sheet. It contains your precinct ID number, the name of your assigned precinct, and the polling place address. Edison Research suggests visiting your polling place location before Election Day if possible. The pink fact sheet also indicates your interviewing rate, when to stop interviewing, when to make your result calls, and the toll-free numbers to use when calling. On Election Day, arrive at your polling place by the time listed on your pink fact sheet. Give yourself extra time in case of traffic, detours, or wrong directions. Arriving early also gives you enough time to meet the election official, set up your location, and make your check-in call. When you get to your location, the first thing to do is find an election official. Introduce yourself as a representative of Edison Research and explain your intention to survey voters. Verify the precinct's name and polling place address. Then ask the election official to help you determine where you can interview voters without disrupting the voting process. The best place to stand is where most voters from your assigned precinct will pass as they exit. If multiple exits are equally used, split your time at each exit. Your Special Election Day instructions describes the state law and where you are allowed to stand. Since it is likely that you'll be stationed outside, be prepared to work in any kind of weather. If you are instructed to stand in a location where it is difficult to approach voters, call the problem number on your pink fact sheet immediately. Let's watch an example of how an exit pollster begins their day at their polling location.
Hi, I'm from Edison Research, and I'll be exit polling here today.
What is exit polling? I haven't heard anything about this.
Edison Research was hired by the news media to conduct a public opinion survey. I will only ask people to fill out questionnaires after they have voted. The questionnaire is entirely anonymous. Edison Research has no affiliation with candidate or the campaigns of anyone or political parties. I've got a letter here from the Board of Elections.
Okay, let me take a look. Okay. Yeah, this letter indicates where you're allowed to stand.
Now I'm here specifically to survey voters in a precinct called Precinct 14. Is there a precinct by that name voting here today?
Yes, precinct 14 votes right here.
Are there any other precincts voting here as well?
Actually, yes. We have 3 precincts total that vote at this location. Precincts 12 and 13, they vote over there.
And where do the voters exit after they vote?
There's 2 exits to this building, but most of the voters, they're going to use the door that's over there.
And can I stand outside the door?
Yeah, I can show you. You just can't block the door and you can't interfere with the voting.
Thanks so much.
After you've met the official and found a good spot to stand, call Edison Research for your check-in call. During this call, you'll confirm your arrival and let us know of any problems you are experiencing. If you do not make this call, we assume that you are not there and we cannot pay you. As soon as you complete the check-in call, begin interviewing voters according to the interviewing rate found on your pink fact sheet. The interviewing rate is the most important part of your job because it tells you which voters you should approach. Correctly following your interviewing rate is much more important than completing lots of interviews. If the interviewing rate isn't strictly followed, your data will not be accurate. On Election Day, use the interviewing rate listed on your pink fact sheet, but for this training, let's suppose your interviewing rate were 3. This would mean you should approach every third voter that passes you and only ask that voter to take the survey. Try to establish eye contact and point to the questionnaire. Explain that you're taking a short and confidential survey for the news. When voters agree to participate, hand them a questionnaire and remind them to fill out the entire questionnaire. You may have 2 different sets of questionnaires. If you do, you will need to ask each person you approach if they voted in the Democrat primary or the Republican primary. If they voted in the Democrat primary, hand them a white questionnaire. If they voted in the Republican primary, hand them a tan questionnaire. Then start counting again and approach the next third voter that passes you. If there's more than 1 precinct voting at your location, do not ask voters which precinct they voted in. Continue approaching voters according to your interviewing rate, even though they may have voted at precincts besides your assigned one. Do not adjust your interviewing rate without instructions from Edison Research. Call if you have any trouble following your interviewing rate.
Hi, I'm taking a short confidential survey for the news. Would you please take a moment to fill out a questionnaire? It'll only take a couple minutes.
Sure, who's the survey for?
It's for the media organizations listed here. The data will also be used for research at universities across the country.
Okay, I'll fill it out.
Thanks. Now, did you just vote in the Democratic primary or the Republican primary?
The Republican.
There's a questionnaire and a pencil. Please fill the questionnaire out entirely and then fold it and put it in that ballot box right there.
Can I fill one out too?
No, I'm sorry. I have to follow a special procedure when selecting which voters can participate.
What does that mean?
It means I can't choose who to interview. If I did, it would ruin the reliability of the poll.
Okay, I'll finish.
Great. Thanks so much for participating. Hi, I'm taking a short confidential survey for the news. Would you
I don't have time. I don't fill out
It'll only
questionnaires.
take a couple minutes.
Listen, I said no. Please leave me alone.
Thanks for your time. Hi, I'm taking a short confidential survey for the news. Would you please take a moment to fill out a questionnaire? Your answers are completely anonymous.
Sure.
Not everyone in your interviewing rate will participate. Refusals are voters who refuse or ignore you. Misses are voters who you were unable to approach because you were too busy. We need you to keep track of these refusals and misses on your refusals and misses code sheets. There are several blank refusals and misses code sheets for each of your 3 call periods. If a voter who falls into your interviewing rate does not participate, mark that person as either a refusal or a miss on your refusals and misses code sheet. Then, use your best judgment and record that person's sex, age, and race. There should be a sex, age, and race for every refusal and miss circled on your sheet. At this point, do not just approach the next person who passes you. Instead, start counting again and approach the third voter that passes. Only record refusals and misses while you are interviewing voters, not during breaks or while tallying or calling in results. At the end of each call period, count the number of refusals, the number of misses, and the numbers of each demographic category, and record them at the bottom of the refusals and misses code sheet. As mentioned earlier, you will make 3 exit poll results calls on Election Day. Each call has a different color tally sheet: blue for the first call, yellow for the second, and green for the third. Your pink fact sheet lists the exact times you need to make these calls, and it's extremely important that you make them on time. Before you can call your results into Edison Research, you have to fill in some information on your tally sheet. First, ask the polling place official for the number of people who have voted at your precinct so far that day. If you have 2 sets of questionnaires, make sure you collect this number for both the Democrat primary and the Republican primary. If there are several precincts voting at your location, remember that we only want the number of people for the precinct listed on your fact sheet. This number should be a running total from the whole day and not just the number of people since your last call period. Let's see how our exit pollster asks for this information.
Hi, I was just wondering if you could tell me the total number of voters who have voted so far in Precinct 14?
Yeah, sure. Let me check. I have 100. Okay, and I've got 253. So a total of 353 voters so far today.
Okay, so 353 voters, and that's just Precinct 14, right?
That's right.
Okay, thanks so much.
Record this number in the top section called Total Number of People Who Voted. Next, find a private location where you can go through each completed questionnaire and mark down how many people said they voted for each candidate or issue listed in the section called Tally Your Questionnaires. If you have 2 sets of questionnaires, you will divide them into 2 piles: white Democrat questionnaires and tan Republican questionnaires. If you are unsure, you can also look in the top right-hand corner of the questionnaire for Dem primary or Rep primary. You may also have multiple versions of each questionnaire. If this is the case, include all respondents, not just one version. Let's watch our exit pollster separate his questionnaires and tally the results.
Okay, I'll start separating. Okay, Jefferson, Kennedy, Roosevelt, Republicans, for Washington, Reagan, Washington, and Lincoln. All right.
Record this number in the top section called Tally Your Questionnaires. Then, look at the totals from your refusals and misses code sheets and record them in the refusals and misses section of your tally sheet. You may have filled out multiple code sheets, so be sure to add them all together for your final total. The refusals and misses code sheets are also color-coded to match the 3 call periods. When you have completely filled out the tally sheet, place your call to Edison Research. First, you'll be asked to read the number of tallies you recorded for each candidate in each race for that call period. Second, give the total number of people who voted at your precinct so far that day. Third, you'll be asked to read the refusals and misses for each category. Finally, read the responses for each individual questionnaire. The best way to read in the responses is by reading the letter of the question and the number of the answer. If more than one response is circled, read that answer as blank to the operator. If you have multiple versions of the questionnaire, tell the operator the version number before reading each questionnaire. The version number is found in the upper right-hand corner. Here's our exit pollster reading in his questionnaires to the operator.
Please have your white Democrat questionnaires in a single stack. You'll be asked to read some questionnaires, and you may be asked to skip others.
Please read the answer to each question like this: A1,
B3, C2, D blank, etc. until the end of the questionnaire. When you are finished reading your last questionnaire, please let me know and we'll start with the first one.
Sure. This is version 1. A2, B1, C3, D2, E. Wait, there's 2 responses for E.
If there are 2 answers marked, please read that as a blank.
Okay, E blank, F3, G2, H2.
Each exit poll results call can take between 20 and 40 minutes to complete. If you plan on using your mobile phone, carry a charger with you. After you have made your 3rd exit poll results call, pull out your purple final precinct vote count sheet. Wait at your polling place after the polls have closed while election officials tabulate the results. When they are finished, they will either print, post, or announce the results. If there are multiple voting machines for your precinct, ask the polling official for all the machines that were used by voters in your assigned precinct. Record the number of votes cast for each candidate in each race listed on your purple sheet for your assigned precinct. If there are several precincts voting at your polling location, remember that we only want the final vote count results for the precinct listed on your fact sheet. Once you have collected this information, call and report those results. When the day is over, mail back your materials in the return envelope provided. We need your completed W-9 form and your exit poll assessment survey before we can process your payment. Do not include questionnaires which have not been filled out. Please allow at least 2 weeks to receive payment. Some final tips and reminders. On Election Day, bring all the materials provided by Edison Research, along with the following recommendations. Appropriate weather gear, a raincoat, umbrella, jacket, hat, gloves, boots, sunscreen, etc. A fully charged cell phone with a charger or backup battery, a calculator, and meals and snacks for the day. As you are a representative of Edison Research, we ask you to please dress appropriately. Your neat and professional appearance conveys to voters the importance of the job you're doing. The more professional you look, the more likely voters will be to cooperate. Here are some common questions you may have on Election Day. When can I take a break? You may take a 15-minute break after each call period to rest or have a snack. Additionally, you may take bathroom breaks as needed. Please do not stop interviewing longer than 5 minutes per hour for bathroom breaks. Is this survey confidential? Yes, the information is completely confidential. We do not know anyone's name or address. We are only interested in voters' opinions. What if a voter who is not in my interviewing rate wants to take the survey? Explain that you're using a scientific process when approaching voters. If the person still insists on filling out a questionnaire, allow them to fill it out, but fold the corner of the questionnaire. Do not include it in your tallies, and do not read it to the operator during your results calls. What do I do if the press wants to speak to me? Please do not speak to anyone from the press. You may tell them you're working for Edison Research, but if they insist on more information, call Edison Research and ask for a supervisor. We will tell you how to direct them to the correct person. Do not give out Election Day phone numbers to anyone. This is the end of the training presentation. Feel free to rewind, pause, or replay this presentation in order to review specific sections. Or you may press Next to continue with the training.